Hello friends, welcome back. So this is part 2 of our series data analysis with Qlikview, and we are trying to do analysis on the housing price prediction problem. Okay, so before we start we have to load the data. So what we are going to do is just browse to our folder where we have kept the data, and I will provide the link of the dataset in the description section, or you can also go to the Kaggle housing price prediction link to get the data. So once I go to my folder, I see that there are two datasets, one for the training and one for the test. So what does it mean? So typically in machine learning, what we do is we use a part of the data, okay, to do the modeling and trying to learn the pattern of the data, and we have another data set or piece of the data set which we use for testing whether whatever pattern analysis we have done and whatever exploratory analysis we have done, we want to test that our analysis is correct and the modeling is perfect, right? Of course we cannot say perfect, but we want that our test and train should be proper, and the error, the analysis that we have done, the error is minimized as much as possible. Okay, so just to keep one more thing in mind is whatever pre-processing we do on our training data set, we will have to do and repeat the same steps for the test data set. Now in a real life problem, and while we use Python and other things, we will be using the same lines of code what we used for training data to process the data. We'll be running those same line of code on the test data as well. Okay, but for the time being, let's load the training data, and we can see that there is one ID column, and this ID is basically a serial number. So just to tell you, there are 1460 lines of data, and there are 79 columns as a variable, and then there is one column called sale price, which is basically what we are trying to learn the analysis for, right? Learn the pattern. This is in US dollars. Okay, so we are just going to finish, and what we are going to do is give this table a name, and you can call it train underscore data. All right, so now what we are going to do is simply load this file, and we can see that 1460 lines has been fetched. All right, okay, great. So what after that? So the next thing that we can do is we can maybe create we can go to the select fields, show the system fields, and what we can do, we can see the field number, info, rows, and field, and we can also take the fields, we can table. This gives us a quick picture, or you can either do it this way, or I prefer to take a table box and I can include my system fields. So this gives me a quick picture of my data set that I have pulled, and here I can go click on this here, and I can see number of fields is 81, which I am already familiar with. Number of rows is 1460. I know the table name already because that's what I have provided, and this field number is nothing but the sequential number for all the fields. I can sort it by this way, and it will show me 1 to 81, right? Great. So now that we have our data loaded, the training data loaded, let's see what other analysis can we do. All right, so the next thing that we are going to do is whenever we do any kind of data analysis in machine learning, what we do is we see whether we have any missing data or not. The reason being because if the data is missing on the first place, there is no point in doing any data analysis, correct? So how can we do that is we will see a few methods to do that. Now but what does missing data means? So in what we can do is we can take couple of fields and see what their values are, right? So for example, if I take LA, which is the path in front of the house or the property, we can take whether they have full bathroom or not,
I'm just randomly picking up some. What is the quality of the pool they have, which year was it sold, and so on. I can randomly take fields like this. Okay, and what I come to see is that the year. So you can see that a couple of fields here. If you see here, we have 5 years of data, and I don't see any null values in this one, so I can just say show frequency. However, in the LA field, I see there is NA, that means that is null there. Full bath, there are no nulls, that means we have at least some values in all the columns. Again, in the pool quality, I see that there is an NA there, so I can also put and show frequency there. Wow, so it seems pool quality, the majority of the records are missing, and such columns then will be of no use for us if the most of the columns are blank. Now in the real world, what we would do is, if we find any column which has majority of the records null, we would better prefer to get the data, or we will just make sure that if we remove that column from our data set, it is not going to impact our analysis, right? But then that's where subject matter experts comes into, the domain experts helps us there. Okay, so in this case I can see that there are, out of 1460 records, 1453 records are null, and only 7 of them have some data, so this column is not important. Now the interesting thing is, I can manually only do take couple of fields like this and do the analysis, but then in my data set there are 79 columns, so it is going to be very hard to find out all the columns like this. So let's write a simple backend script so that we can do this analysis quickly. Okay, so let's go to our backend. I can simply press Ctrl E and go all the way to the bottom, and what we are going to do is calculate the null count in each field. Fine. So what we are going to do is run a for loop for I is equal to 1, 2, and I can use the number of fields inbuilt function and pass the table name, so that way I'll get the number of fields, which is 81. So of course I could have just put 81 here instead of this, but it's good to know that some of the tricks, so that we don't have to remember the field count every time. Sorry. So next I'm going to pass a let variable and collect the field name for each of this increment. So for the first one, what I can do is I can use the field name function, which is again another inbuilt function in Qlikview, and I can pass the field number, and I can say from which table I want the field to be collected, the field name to be collected. Okay. All right. Next, we are going to store all these values in a table within the for loop. I can just give a name called null count, and I'm going to say load single quote, and I can just pass the field, and I can give it some name as field name, because later on I have to identify which field has what count, right? And next I can say if my dollar, like here I can just pass this v field equal to NA, and if it is NA then 1, if not then 0 as null count, right? And I'm going to pull all this data from my already loaded train data. Okay, and because I have to run this in a for loop, I have to just say next I. Okay, make sure always save the data and always put a comment on the script what you are trying to do, so that you can later on refer to it, or if anybody else is looking at your code, they should be able to understand what they're doing. See, if I reload this, okay, unexpected token. Oh, okay, some of my field name probably starts with a number. Okay, we'll handle this later. Same issue here and same issue here. Okay, fine. So what I can do is I can go back and go up. Yeah, so here the issue is here. Okay, I can just say, instead of 1, I can say first floor square feet. This is basically the square feet of the first floor. Then I can say second floor square feet, and I saw somewhere number 3, so this is here. And I can say third SSM watch. Alright, so I can save it and then reload it again. Yeah, this time it's running fine. Great. So what we have done so far is I have checked the column of the table train data, each column basically, and saw whether it is equal to NA or not. That means whether it is null or not. And then I tried to put them in a separate table and see the count of those. So if I can directly also check it out from here, but then this will repeat that many number of values, so it will be not very convenient to understand the data from here. So what we are going to do is create a simple straight table, and what we can do is go to that null counter table, okay, and I can say the field name, and I can sum null count, because that will give me the sum of total number of missing records. Okay, I can say number of missing records and say finish. Interesting. So I can see that okay, I can also sort this way, so quite interesting. Remember, for the pool quality we saw there were 1453 missing records. Similarly, it seems miscellaneous feature as also have around 1400 plus missing records. LA has around 1369 missing records. So these are the 4 columns at the very bottom which has a majority of missing records.